I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought and died just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to season 36, episode 16 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
My name is Riley.
And I'm Jay.
This week in our episode, Thomas from Denmark asks about politics at the gaming table. Out of Print GM from Yorkshire asks about safety tools in convention games. And from the archive 2012, like way back, Veremond gets in the weeds about wrestling and physical abilities in games. If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Or you can post in the mailbag channel of the Discord at happyjacks.org/discord. All right, announcements. Our next game days will be January 17th through the 18th. There's a bunch of games posted already. If you go to happyjacks.org/discord, you can sign up for games. You can offer to run games if you've been there for a little while. Every game has safety tools. It's a really great community. There's a huge variety of games, and we actually need players more than we need GMs. So come play, meet some friends. It's a fantastic, very big community with a bunch of different interests in all different TTRPG games. So yeah, come check it out. It's amazing. Next, please send in questions, stories, commentary, critiques, snark, whatever, because we need a little bit more content. Traditionally, after the holidays, people don't ask us questions. They don't send in their happy or their horror stories. So please, even if it's just like stories about how you got a game book and someone teased you or whatever it is, like holiday stories are fine. Send in things for us to read. Where the amount of things we have to read is very, very small at the moment. So please send in things. And last, something is wrong with our RSS feed. I can't figure out what it is. I'm trying really hard. If you're an expert in RSS feed stuff, please email me at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Because I'm still trying to figure out what it is. So all the shows are currently available on Apple and Spotify, and it seems to be updating perfectly there. But only the Advice Show is updating on Amazon Music and not the AP feed. And then some things like Deezer have just like dropped us completely. Fun. And it's super fun. And none of that makes any sense with what I know about RSS feeds because you just send it out on the RSS feed. And if some places are picking it up, then that means it's available for all of it. So I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So if you know more about RSS feeds than that, please help. I've been searching through the internet and I haven't found the answer. Also, if the shows have gone missing for you, obviously you're probably not listening to this, but if they went missing from one of your favorite platforms, please get in touch with me. You can email or join the Discord and let me know, DM me and say, hey, they're not on this anymore. A few of you have messaged me about Deezer specifically. Because if I can like figure out where it's being dropped from or what's not updating anymore, that might provide clues. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Fun times. So many people come to me and they're like, I want to start a podcast. And I'm like, cool. Good on ya. Not all glamour like you think. It doesn't seem. All right, sorry. Anyway, yeah.
I want to start a podcast. Good. Do you know anything about RSS feeds?
Good. Tell me how to do it because I have no idea. Okay. It seems to be working on Podcast Addict, which is great. Actually, a huge number of our podcast listeners, obviously this doesn't apply to people watching us on Twitch or YouTube, are Android users, like a ridiculous amount. Like almost half of our audience uses Android.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very specific. So, there's a huge variety of people who listen to the show and all the different podcatchers they use. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know why I'm showing that, but yeah, it's a huge number of people. It's wild. I blame Jason. It's not Jason. It was long before Jason joined us. But anyway, another strange trend. We have GMs and they all use Androids. Except me. Okay.
And me.
Indie Designer of the Month. We have a new Indie Designer of the Month. for January, our indie designer of the month for January is Carrie Linden. They, a dear, dear friend of mine, like an amazing person. Cannot say enough about Carrie. Just the most amazing person. She's from Snowbright Studios, and they are a game studio that specifically works to do projects from the LGBTQ plus community, IA plus community, all the things community. They are fantastic. They do a bunch of mentoring and helping. And Carrie specifically is the chairperson for the Gamma DEI committee, which is how I met them. And they're just fantastic and they're great. And they've given me so much great life advice and stuff as I'm building up my company and just amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, Carrie, you can find their stuff at snowbrightstudio.com. No S at the end. Snowbrightstudio.com. And today's product we're going to talk about is Tea Time Adventures 2nd Edition. Tea Time Adventures is a non-violent role-playing game full of heartwarming magic, baked goods, and tea pairings for every adventure. Gather a few friends around the table and imagine yourselves in a whimsical world of the Verdant Isles. Tea Time Adventures uses easy-to-learn, family-friendly D20 system that's perfect for newcomers and veteran RPG players alike. Will you choose to be a deerkin or a hop top? Will you be aligned with the storm or to the twilight? Will you snack on apple turnovers or the spicy dragon biscuits? These are the choices and more that await you in Tea Time Adventures. You get the full color rulebook, including all the rules, lore, and recipes that you need to begin your cozy mystery adventure. And you can get that for $14.99 for the PDF at snowbrightstudio.com. And it's a really cute, very whimsical book. I really like
great.
it. It's so good. It's so cute.
I wish I'd known about that a few months ago. We were actually, for Good Chaotic, we were looking to do like a one-off to be a break after we ended our season. And we were trying to get an actual cozy game, and we never got back. We never heard back from the people we reached out to like get a copy of a game that wasn't yet available.
Oh.
And this would have been such a good stand-in for that.
Oh, yeah,
well.
yeah. It's fantastic. We cannot know about all the amazing games, but this is why we do this segment.
Yeah,
Because-
I've learned.
Yeah,
Took a
because
picture
I
of
get
it.
to
So
learn
many
about
games.
things. Yeah.
Now I will tell my co-stars,
Yeah.
and they will my co-cast. I don't know.
Yeah.
Game players.
That's why I just say crew for Happy
My
Jacks.
crew.
I'm like,
I love it.
the crew.
I'll tell my crew.
It's easier. No titles. We're all just a crew.
I'll tell the homies that we're
Yeah.
hanging out with No Right Studio.
Yeah. Vaguely piratey.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. Arr.
Arr. All right.
All right.
Mailbag number 1.
I am taking this one.
Okay.
Speaking of pirates, dear Captain Kimmy and the motley crew of the USS Happy Jack. Are we USS? We're pirates of the
Arr. No.
the Dark Jack.
Yeah.
Arr. The USS Jack
The
Sparrow.
LA
Happy Jack Sparrow. So, here's one for you. Politics at the gaming table. Yay or nay? Let's be honest. Most games are about something. Even if we pretend they're just fun, they're often smuggling in a theme or bias. Alien RPG, that's corporate greed and never looking out for the common man. D&D, half the time it's a vigilante fantasy straight out of a spaghetti western. Werewolf, all the rage, literally about eco-terrorism. It's baked right into the premise. But what happens when the players bring their real-life politics along for the ride? Case in point, I once ran a Shadowrun-inspired game where one of my players played an orc mercenary. So far, so good, except this particular orc was wearing a t-shirt emblazoned with "Not all orcs" one week and "Green Life Matters" the next. Now, at the time, and with that specific group, it actually worked fine. We all knew each other's sense of humor and no one got upset. But it could easily have gone sideways into arguments and awkward silences. So I'm curious, where's the line? Is it fine to mix in topical political nods if a table's cool with it? Or is that just kind of asking for trouble into statements? Or is that heading into murky territory? Basically, I'd love to hear your take before I accidentally start the next edition of Parliament the RPG. Yours in Dice and Diplomacy, Thomas from Denmark. P.S. Skål and enjoy your beverage of choice.
Woo.
I will admit, I had a very visceral reaction to this email when I first read it.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, on one side, I understand the concept of we all knew each other's sense of humor and no one got upset. But that doesn't tell me anything about the actual makeup of the table. Okay, I'm
Just
holding in case that's a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Okay, going. Okay. It doesn't tell me anything about the makeup of the table. So it's like, oh, are we all in this sense of humor because we're all in a position of privilege where this doesn't affect us, or are we all in the same sense of humor because we know like we are in a diverse group and we already know like no one means anything by it. So that can be very different things, and as a result of that, I don't know exactly how to process that.
Yeah.
Having said that, if it is just a private game and you're not streaming it for people in an audience, and you know there's nobody who's going to be bothered by it, then I guess it's probably fine. But I personally think it's kind of, I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love, and like they say, like cisgender male player, they don't point out the racial dynamics of it. But both of those examples of not all orcs and Green Lives Matters, like not all orcs was not all men. But Green Lives Matters was Black Lives Matter, and I'm personally very skeeved out by any like non-black person making jokes about blank lives matters, unless like it's completely like meant to be like mocking the people who would mock it. But like that has to be made very, and having a character walk around wearing that shirt. I'm really skeeved out by equating orcs with people of color.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like one of the things we're trying very hard to get away from in the gaming space. So I think making jokes about that is, in my opinion, in very poor taste, regardless of what the table layout is. Having said that, I would never like tell people of color they can't be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's not my lane to do that. But that's not I'm never given information in this document to know if that's the case. And like, even though it's set in Denmark, I don't want to assume that it's all white people just because it's in Denmark, because there are people of color all over the world.
Yeah,
So.
I do think this is a case where also your location could really affect things.
Fair.
So, I mean, there's a lot of humor right now where U.S. politics is kind of the butt of the joke, including, making fun of how incredibly racist we are and things like that. Like, not us specifically here in this room, but overall. So I could see it being commentary in another country that, as far as I know, has their shit more together than us.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of like making fun of that, like where you could have like a redneck, where you could have clearly like so for me, it does get to be a bit much, but I also realize that we're a lot closer to this. Like, we're in LA. The Black Lives Matter, protests were things that really, like, we're there in our city. There, many of us from the Happy Jacks community attended those marches and things like that, and they were in the lockdown, and so those things hit a lot more closely for us than people literally an ocean away watching it on TV who may not understand or have relevant experience in a way that we do. I do also kind of definitely hate the whole like orcs, like leaning into orcs basically being an allegory for people of color.
Yeah.
That's a messy no matter where you're from. But I mean, it's been interesting because I actually just have been, we've been going through the editing process on Starscape, and like I wrote the whole safety section, and one of the things that I talk about in that section, and I'm still kind of getting feedback from people, is like sometimes people play stories like that to defeat that in themselves.
Yeah.
Like, but that needs to be something you talk about ahead of time. You shouldn't ever just show up to the table and be like, here's these funny politics things that are part of my character. It's like, is there a place for you to play a racist character, and the plan is to redeem them from that, for them to learn better? That is the planned arc. That's something you should sit down and talk about with your table ahead of time, because that can be a great story and a really great experience. But it needs to be something that's done very much with care, and should very much depend on the setting and the system. Doing something like with allegory in a fantasy world or sci-fi tends to be the settings people are more comfortable with exploring things like that. If you're doing a Western game, probably not the place to like explore things.
Yeah.
So it's something that just needs to be done with such care. What do you think, Jay?
I think, the question is like, where's the line, right? And I think the line is, the line is sort of between having a play group that you're comfortable with and and understand the context under which things are made, in which these references or jokes or comments are made. And then being with another group where you might not, honestly. To me, I mean, it's a tough question to answer because as the both of you have mentioned, context really matters. And I mean, context is not context, as they say, isn't a silver bullet, but it can contribute to a lot of comfort or discomfort as far as this topic goes. I think, like you said, Kimmy, certainly talk to your table. I think it's a great idea for everybody or anyone or everyone who wants to, make political commentary to talk to the table first and make sure everyone's, feeling okay with that. Everyone is, um, even if you're not on the same sides of the political spectrum, that you can all, respect each other's point of view and, you know, I suppose be civil when dealing with things like that. Um, oh gosh, I was gonna make a point and it totally just left me.
Yeah.
I
I
hate
think
it when that happens.
Yeah, and the fact that they know each other so well, like
Yeah,
in non-streamed games, I make political snark a lot. Like it's very leftist, but left-leaning political snark, but there's a lot of it there. But it's because I know the people that I'm playing with also are comfortable with that and I will understand. So
yeah,
I will I haven't done these specific examples, but it's something that like again, just knowing everybody in the room and having had those conversations and political conversations, very frank political conversations, not in TTRPGs with those same people, it helps kind of like regulate and zero in on what I can say and what I can't say. Riley.
Yeah. My thing about it is like I can say this because all three of us played in the game, although I know Jay didn't finish the game, but we played in Hexbreakers, and it became like a running thing of us like spreading like communist, like spreading like workers' rights and socialism and stuff as part of the game.
Yeah.
And also like I did come into that game playing a character that I acknowledged early on was kind of meant to be not racist, but like coming from a financial privilege point of view, and everybody else wasn't. And that was, I intentionally made a character that was supposed to be like the snobby rich kid who suddenly found herself part of a marginalized group and how she was dealing with that and exploring that. So like, but that was something we talked about a lot before we played it. And we tried to be careful with it. And then also, like I think that the politics thing, I think what it really comes down to for me especially is, and this is obviously in the case of a closed game, is are you making sure that that table is still welcome to people? Like is it that everybody got someone's sense of humor, or is it that the one person who didn't think it was cool didn't feel safe saying it? Like that's the question I would have for it. I'm assuming from Thomas that is not the case, that this is like a group that was fine with it, but if we're asking about as a general question, I think to like kind of build off what Jay said, could you comfortably invite somebody else to play in that game and feel like they will be okay with it too?
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, we just pointed out an example where we were fine with real world politics in our game because it happened to be politics that we very much agreed with.
Yeah.
But like, would we have been okay if someone was playing a character who was like extremely like corporate minded? But I have been at games where people have played like very like businessy minded things, and that's fine too as well. Like I don't like, as long as it's like clearly a character, not the player doing it. So there is room for it, but the big question is like, would somebody feel welcome at your table? Or are you, again, this is not my feeling on Thomas and his friends, my feeling on the general idea of like, are you trying to be like, this is the one spot where we can be ourselves and nobody else can tell us what we can play? Because there are a lot of people who like love to vocally talk about games that way, and I'm just like, God, your game sounds unbearable and insufferable, and I'm glad that you're playing it by yourselves in a room with nobody else around, because it sounds like a nightmare to listen overhear or be part of.
Yeah. And having, like, we all have political opinions, and having political opinions in a shared group, if everyone's honestly comfortable with them, and you know for sure, like, you've talked about it. Like, don't just assume. Because the worst thing is when you have that game going, and then someone says something like that, and at first you think they're joking. You're like, oh, yeah, that's hilarious, making fun of, like, those people that I dislike or disagree with. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, and then suddenly you're like, wait, are you using this as like a way to say the things that you wish you could say in real life?
Yes. Oh my God.
And that is awful and terrible, and it kills the fun immediately. Like, games can be a place where you can explore things. Like, people use it to explore sexuality, their attraction, their personality, politics, life experiences that they may never have. It builds empathy. It, works in therapeutic ways. It does so many amazing things. But it can also be a mask for assholes saying the things they think out loud.
Yes.
And I think that's the big line. If you are saying things and making jokes like this that are belittling groups of people, and I'm not talking like politics, like, oh, the taxes on the toll bridge are too much.
Yeah.
Like, fine, whatever. Have that on your... I don't care if that's in your RPG. That's boring, but whatever. But like, if it's actually about like groups of people being respected, having rights, be equality, all that shit, like, that's not politics. That's simple humanity. And if that's the shit you're making jokes about, and if it's just your way to say that out loud, in front of people without being shunned because it's the only place you can do that, then you're a bad person, and that should absolutely 100% be the line.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So if your friend, Thomas, is making commentary on how terrible U.S. like politics culture is as like satire from Denmark, where you have universal health care and things, I think it's just like great. It sounds so great right now. I'm sure you have problems, but right now it sounds so great.
Yeah.
Then, okay, that's one thing. But if you suspect your friend might actually be mocking these things, and really have a problem with things like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, then that would be a bigger problem and probably the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, kind of thinking about whether it's fine to mix in those political nods in games, I think as soon as that kind of happens, everyone should be aware of it. I think it kind of places some responsibility on the players and the GM in particular, because technically the GM is sort of typically the person heading up the group, to just be aware of kind of why it's being done, and to make sure that care is applied to anybody who needs care in the group, and care is applied to the topic if it's needed.
Yeah.
There's the second portion of the question too. Is it even okay for a cisgender male player to portray a character making those kind of statements? And I mean, that's yeah, I mean, cisgender or like, a person of color, or just a person of a particular political affiliation. I mean, is it okay for you to play characters that are not necessarily, that make statements that are maybe not your stories to tell? That's a trickier one too. I think as long as, again, same thing, you kind of are open with your intentions on why you're playing that character, and you kind of have a point to play that character. I mean, as a person of color, I've played other ethnicities and other cultures as well. There was one game where I played a South Asian character, and I just made sure that I was clear. I'm like, I'm not of South Asian descent. I'm going to portray this person as respectfully as I can. And it ended up being fine. It ended up being like a good session. And I just tried to make that person just a person. And as I tried to, besides having that portion of their identity established, I didn't necessarily, I didn't necessarily play it up. It was a one shot and like maybe a couple of hours long. So there wasn't a whole lot of room to really play up that aspect. But I wanted to kind of stay faithful to the character concept that was given me. And again, I just made sure that I was as respectful to that culture as I could be, as respectful to the person that I was portraying as I could be as well. And I made sure to mention that to the rest of the players, and everybody was okay with that too.
Yeah. I think especially for closed home games, as long as you're really making sure everyone's comfortable and you're doing your best not to be like a caricature or a mocking, it's a great way to explore empathy. Now, you don't want to be like cosplaying tragedy stories of oppression, but there's actually a Reddit story I was reading the other day, like classic kind of like clueless like dude who was like, okay, he was in a group, he was playing D&D with his friends. I think it's an older Reddit story, but it got fed to me, where he had there were two guys at the table, the DM, because it was D&D, and then a guy, and then two women at the table, and he, for the first time ever, decided in their new campaign to play a woman character. And he started running into sexism in this fantasy world that he'd never realized that there had been there before. And he started like realizing, how much like the male characters were prioritized, the men characters. And like, it was like this like revelation, and like to him, and the people in the comments were like, no fucking duh. Like, but it created empathy for him, and realizing like the learned experience of feminine presenting people in the world. So I think that was a very, it was a very funny Reddit post, like the welcome to the world of it, but it also like helped him actually learn a real thing about the real world that will probably make him a better person. And if people had made the hard and fast rule, no, you can't play anything different than what you are, I feel like we probably wouldn't have great experiences like that. I mean, it wasn't a great experience, but like a great learning experience. How's that? Like great learning from a bad experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like especially closed games, I think is you're making sure everyone's comfortable, you're using safety tools, and you're being very transparent about your intent, and people can be like, hey, you know what, this is starting to get a little bit uncomfortable for me. Let's stop this. Let's have a backup character or something. Like, yeah. Riley, you've been very patient while I talked about Reddit.
You're making a very valid point. And actually, as a quick side note to what you're saying, I remember another version of that on Reddit where a GM talked about how they just changed all the NPCs in the game to have female pronouns, and what a profound effect that had on the way that other players at the table. Right? So like, it's fascinating. Also, I would say, especially in the phrase of cisgender male player or like straight male player, not so much on the racial component like Jay was talking about. I played a lot of women and queer people before I came out as trans and as a lesbian, so it would have sucked for me if I could have done that, because that was a huge part of my journey into finding who I was. And I think that's pretty true about a lot of trans gamers.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, every gamer is eventually going to come out as trans. It's just a fact, statistically speaking. I'm sorry. But yeah, that is...
On a long enough timeline.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, but that was... So, like, for me, it's like, I definitely wouldn't want to be like... So I think there's a difference between, like, is it okay for them to play those characters, or are you only playing that character so you can make those jokes and those choices? That's, I think, where like the line might be of like, are you playing this character because you think there's an interesting story to be told there and you want to kind of explore that, or are you playing that character because you think it's funny to do bits about it? And that's where I think like, that's why going back to our earlier mention about not using fantasy races as a stand-in as a one-to-one stand-in for real world racism, like races and like ethnic groups that have like get punched down a lot. I think that's where it's like, if you're just trying to do like real world racially coded stuff, but feel good about it, and so you're just like making it one step to the left by making it a fantasy race, that in itself is kind of inherently a bit racist. And so that's where I think like, just be careful with that.
Yeah, be super thoughtful about it. And you're probably going to make mistakes, and be ready when you make mistakes to acknowledge them, own them, and apologize. Like, don't try and like make excuses for it or hand wave it or stuff like that. Like, it is a learning process. We've all made mistakes in our characters of the past. Everyone, at least at this table, even virtually, unintentionally. But yeah, the intent is so important in these discussions, and it's so hard because you can never truly know anyone else's intent. But it's, after a while, it can be pretty clear if someone's trying to make their character the butt of their jokes, or if it's an actual like exploration of what it is to be in someone else's shoes in a really like honest way, even if it's a little fumbled.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you for the email, Thomas. We appreciate it. Send more. Yeah. All right. Mailbag number 2.
All right. I'll take this one. Dear Happy Jackers, in March every year in the historic spa town of Harrogate, there is Ericon, a 3-day game convention. It is mostly board games, but the TTRPG content grows every year.
Excellent.
At the 20... What was that?
I said excellent with the evil voice.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so many
It will
games
be all of
nowadays,
us.
too.
We'll all be trans. Oh, sorry.
Long in the timeline.
Okay. At the 2023 ARICON, they had 3,846 unique attendees and 8,563 attendees overall. I, as normal, will be running this year. I have chosen to run a homebrew one-shot for the Sword of the Serpentine RPG. The game is titled The Thing That Took My Father's Face and involves a team of inquisitors for hire looking into why a wealthy merchant is acting so strange of late. This year, there is a heavy emphasis on safety tools at the table, so I will have green and red cards for the players. Green is all okay, red is stop please. On top of that, as part of the introduction to the game, I will remind them that we are in a public place, and even if everyone around the table is okay with what is happening, you can't control who might pass by and wonder what's going on. At the same convention some years previous, I was running a Night's Black Agents. Think Jason Bourne versus Count Dracula, which sounds like an awesome idea. I love that. And one player started getting very descriptive in how he was interrogating a captive. I quickly nipped it in the bud and subtly pointed out that there was a 10-year-old at the table with his mom and dad, and this was his first non-D&D experience. He loved it, by the way. How do you do safety tools and deal with hard situations at a convention table? Simon, aka Out of Print GM.
Okay.
I mean, I think like safety tools at a convention. I handle safety tools in private games as I do in public games. I mean, you always do it. Before every session, I always go over the safety tools that I'm using. Typically, it's the X card, and if I don't have a physical X card, I mean, it's similar to the red and green cards that Simon mentioned, right? If I don't have physical X cards, I'll do the whole, X over the chest. And I mean, that's even if it's a group that I've played with consistently, I will always go over that at the top of the session, just a little bit of housekeeping. Um, if it's a one shot, I will typically keep it at that and then mention my own lines and veils. If it's a public one shot, there are just certain things that we're not going to touch in public at all. And I
Yeah.
always have that spiel kind of like chambered and ready. Um, but if it's going to be an ongoing campaign, obviously, hopefully we will have done a session 0 and have established like lines and veils beforehand. Like those are my two big tools, X card and lines and veils. I know that there are a variety of other safety tools available, but those are the ones that I have used pretty consistently throughout my games.
Yeah. One thing I have loved as I've gone to more conventions in the last couple of years is seeing how common safety tools are becoming. And many of the cons now require it. And I've seen also a lot of cons making like the table numbers, like if they have like the flat table numbers laying, like a lot of them are X cards on the other side. So they're like they're already at the table, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if you'd
Oh,
raise your
codes
hand.
of conduct, too.
Honestly, everything I would say, you'll have all said. It's
Okay.
such great
Oh, no,
control.
no, no.
I was like, I'm just repeating what you guys are saying. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
codes of conduct,
Yeah,
codes
yeah.
of conduct, absolutely super important.
Yeah.
I was working when I was working with Gamma last year, 2 years ago, whenever. Time has no meaning. We were actually I was talking to them about as a former, I guess I'm former now, a former cosplayer. I was very familiar with the codes of conduct of many comic conventions, including pictures and touching and things like that, because you have to be as a cosplayer, because people do touch you. They think, I don't know what they think, honestly, but they touch you.
I know what they think. And
Yeah, I know.
And it's disgusting.
It's terrible. So there's a lot of conventions that have done a lot of really thoughtful work into those things. Now that isn't as big a need for a lot of gaming conventions, although as cosplay is becoming popular at things like Gen Con and PAX Unplugged and the bigger conventions, it also is. So they're actually looking at a lot of different codes of conduct about that and starting to pull that into different events too, which is fantastic, because I think that's your first go-to. Absolutely, table safety is important, but when it comes to like real bodily safety, codes of conduct at conventions are incredibly important.
Yeah.
And you have to
Mhm,
know that
mhm.
if something goes wrong at the table, that there's also policies that will back you up. Especially as like a feminine person in the RPG space. Not recently, but when I was younger, I had people follow me around. Like especially when when I'd stay at a hotel at a convention, and especially at a gaming convention where people were up all night and things like that. I would be
And
walking
alcohol's
around, and
involved, yeah.
suddenly like they'd be in the elevator with me, okay, and then and like I literally had to like start just walk around the halls one time to lose this guy who was following me at a con one time. And it was like
So creepy.
1 a.m, and I was like trying to like hoping I'd like into like an employee. I was like ready to start knocking on just random doors, but luckily
Mm.
I was able to lose them. But like that's a really important piece. And then at the table, like you said, X cards should just be mandatory everywhere.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
also, we were actually talking about this in the Discord the other day. And one of the things we were talking about is better living through office supplies, like always. I love handing out Post-it notes, making sure everybody has the same color Post-it notes and people can write lines and veils on them. And then I collect them all back and then I read them out, and people don't put their names on them or anything. So it's as anonymous as you can be actually sitting at the same table with everybody.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, everybody gets the yellow Post-it notes. Usually they're very bright colored. I like bright colored Post-it notes. I'm very specific about Post-it notes. It's a teacher thing. Get over it. So like everyone gets their bright neon green Post-it notes, and then I collect them all back and read them out ahead of the game for lines and veils. A lot of people had great suggestions too of like QR codes to sheets and stuff where they can type them in, and then it's like very anonymous and things like that. So you can get very fancy with it. But I absolutely think that the more you do up front in a con game, the safer everyone feels and the more adventurous people are going to be.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think having those safety tools and people knowing that there are subjects that that they're not going to be made uncomfortable because of certain subjects coming up. It does, I think, make the table more of a brave space, which I certainly appreciate. Going back to the code of conduct too, by the way, what I've been seeing a lot of recently as well, the past few years, is game stores actually having them and creating
Yeah.
them, which is really, really fantastic. Um,
It
there
protects the
were,
game store and
yeah,
the people who go there because it makes it
absolutely.
like this is our code of conduct. We can refuse service to everyone. Like if you break our code of conduct, there's no like gray area anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if you know of a store that has a really, or if you've been to a con that has a good code of conduct, and any con or store kind of worth their salt will typically have those codes of conduct online. Uh, Download a copy, keep it in your game folder or your game
Yeah.
bag, and just be ready to pull it out and refer to it if you need to, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry, one last thing. A tool that I would highly recommend as far as lines and veils go, there's this thing called the Deck of Player Safety,
Oh yeah.
which is it's a deck of cards. It has a list of topics on the cards, as well as some cards that say anything goes and some cards that are just blank. You can deal it out to a table really quickly, kind of like what you do with your Post-it notes, Kimmy. And players can just pick things out. They typically pick out their topics, or if they don't have any topics that they're, concerned about, there are anything goes cards. And then there are blank cards as well. So a player can kind of like toss those into the stack. And then you shuffle it up later, you gather it up, shuffle it up later on, and you've got your guidelines right there. It's really
Great.
handy. I highly recommend it for any setting.
That's very cool. Cats discussion are always really important. The tone, the setting, all that stuff ahead of time. We've talked about cats on previous things, so I'm not going to go through them again. If you're interested in what cats are, you can look it up online or search through the backlog, and we've talked about it a lot.
They have like 4 legs and tails and
Yeah, those. I'm very allergic now. But cats is like a discussion at the top of a game, just very briefly, about where you kind of agree on everything and let everyone know. But one thing that I don't think we talk about enough on the show, specifically for convention games, is when you post a game and when you pitch a game at the con.
that yeah.
Yeah, it's so important that when you are posting a game, you put like the maturity level of the game, you put some content information. I know it can be really tempting as the GM to like, and I used to do this all the time, have some very tantalizing little like hook. Oh, they do this thing, and oh, it's a surprise. Like, no, just like, hey, we're playing this. It's a 14, an older game or a mature game. There will probably be some like sexual innuendo content, but no full on sex, like whatever it is. And put that, most places have a game description you can do when you submit your games, pre-registration, all that. Like, do that. Be very blunt so people know what they're signing up for before they even show up at the table to do cats or lines and veils or the player's tool safety deck or any of those things. Like, it is your first line of defense to make sure people have a good time. Right.
One thing I think we haven't really talked a lot about in this conversation, because you're both saying such brilliant things, and I think everything you're saying is great. But it does all apply specifically to who's at your table and who has signed up to be at your game and who is finding your game in the postings. But one of the things that was like in the middle of this thing was you're at a public space where people are walking by, and those are people who have not consented to be part of your game.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of thing where I think you also need to have conversations about, like, I know everyone's saying like, I run my games the same in public as I do in private, but you might not. And you might subconsciously think you're doing it that way, but you actually aren't, because like if you're in a game space where it's just you and nobody else is there, you might get excited, you might shout, you might get really like rambunctious. But if you're in a space where other people are around, you're going to be, even on a courteous level, you're not going to be yelling as much as a table right next to you. Hopefully you're being that way. But that's where I think also, going back to the code of conduct, I think it might be good to be like, hey, let's make sure we're not like in this script, especially like the thing that took my father's face. It's a body horror thing. Let's like, what are some things to making sure that people walking by aren't going to catch strays from what your game is doing, because they never had a chance to opt in or out. They never had a chance to drop their lines and veils. And so like there should be a thing of like, if like a game discussion of, if you're playing in a game that you know is going to have some very valid like triggers in it, like making sure no one's walking by when you're saying something like that, or that you're like looking around for it. In this case too, like the case the 10-year-old at the table made me laugh, because I've been running games for a lot of kids around that age range, and I gotta let you know that I've had way more disturbing things come out of the voice of 10-year-olds than any adult I've ever played with. But I think if you're a lot of times, con games are in a room where there's 2 or 3 other games happening. And so like you got to make sure, like, if you are playing a mature game that's going to have mature themes, maybe when you're pitching it to the con, say, like, I would like to make sure I'm in a space with other adult games, and not, like, don't have me sharing a game with people who, don't have me sharing a room for my father's face got eaten with someone who's playing, tea time adventures. Because maybe those people signed up for a cozy game for a reason, and suddenly Eldritch Horrors are happening in the other across the next table. So, like, that is one thing that, like, all the safety tools in the world aren't going to help you if you're disturbing somebody who never had a chance to opt in or out to them.
Yeah.
So.
I signed up for scones and hibiscus tea. I did not want horror.
Yeah.
But no, 100%. I'm not making fun of people. That would be 100% me.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's really, really important at game stores specifically, because at conventions too, 100%.
Yeah.
And like informing the con, hopefully the con is already doing that. Most of the cons where I've submitted games to run, they ask like the maturity level. And most of the time they try and do the Tetris of like fitting those games in, but you want to make sure and just double check.
Yeah.
But at a game store, literally anybody can walk in, especially like the recent holidays. I decided, with the help of people on the Happy Jacks Discord, thank you, my husband has gotten really into solo games. So I was bopping around town to a bunch of different stores looking for specific story games in like physical form, because it's much less impressive on Christmas morning to be like, here's a bunch of PDFs that got emailed to you. Merry Christmas. But so like,
Merry Christmas,
yeah. But
Check your
literally
inbox.
people who were clearly not at all into RPGs, or not, like, they were there trying to shop and do stuff for their family members and friends and things like that. And you need to be really aware of like the mundanes, like being
the
around
normies.
Yeah, the normies, and just like their shopping, like little kids running through and stuff like that, who definitely, even less than people who signed up at a convention, are literally just there. I just wanted to buy some rainbow dice for my daughter.
Yeah.
There's saying terrible things over there at the table.
Yeah. I'll never forget, in high school, my mom was trying to buy me a shirt at Hot Topic, and she could not handle the 90s Hot Topic energy. Like,
Glory.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was-
God.
she actually made me stand out in the mall away from her because she was having she was getting so like distressed that she didn't want to like freak out around me, so she had me walk away so that she would like be able to chill out.
Oh my gosh. 100% also about kids saying really disturbing things. My kid has started talking. It's not an imaginary friend, but I'm I'm a skeptical person. Ghost, none of that stuff. Like, whatever. My child is starting talking to someone named Mr. Nobody in my
Okay.
house.
Okay.
Mr. Nobody. It's fine. I'm also like, yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
Okay, moving on. I'm
Have
sure
you been
it's
watching Stranger Things?
fine. I have. I've
Yeah,
never seen
yeah.
it. Maybe she has it. Like she's hacked the TV at 5. I don't know. But she's
That's when I started.
super creepy and very excited about it. And I'm just like, and like I double checked like all the locks, like peeking under her bed. Like I don't. Okay, it's fine, Mr. Nobody. But also, my husband's just like, oh, if I could. I wish I was that creative. That'd be amazing. My screenwriting would be so amazing if I came up with ideas like that. He's like following her around with like,
Yes,
a
no one's
notepad.
presented a story about a creepy kid talking to a ghost before. That would be the first
Yeah,
time
the
ever.
first time ever. I think more the actual like
know,
being
I'm
able
just-
to say, yeah, the creepiness of Mr. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. Mailbag number 3 from the archive. Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you, Out of Print GM from Yorkshire. You're very
Governor.
governor. Okay, honestly, also Out of Print GM has an amazing TikTok. Like just the most charming like
All right.
accent and like fun, like absolutely the best. Like so good. It like very cute.
I just love
like
the
bad
phrase
joke
the
of the day.
historic spa town of Harrogate. Like I want to
Yeah,
go to the
I
historic
want
spa
to
town
see
of
what that
Harrogate.
is. But yeah, right. Seriously, right?
Yeah, I wish I could fly to whatever country that is and go to IRCon or AirCon
I know.
in the historic spa town of Harrogate.
My goal is still the con. I forget who wrote in about it. That's in like this this hall that's built like a Viking ship.
Oh my god.
It's so cool.
What?
I'm like, I want to play there so badly. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. All right. Like LAX Hilton will have to do. It's fine. All right. Mailbag 3 from the archive 2012. We're reaching way back for this one. Hey, I just thought I'd drop my 2 cents on the subject of hit points as an abstraction on endurance as opposed to physical health. This is what happens when I'm in a hurry and I waited too long to do the show notes and I'm like, that email looks fine. It's fine.
I just like that starts with hey.
Hey.
Like it's such a different ear. Like hey,
Hey,
I
yeah.
have some thoughts about gaming if you want to hear them.
The more you go back through the early emails, Stu also would like write back and forth with people. So there's like a ton of emails that start off as like a message to the show. And then it's like, wait, okay, so do I pull this part and this part? Like they start having a conversation and I'm like, okay, like I'll just copy and paste the whole thing in. I don't know what I do. But yeah, it's fun. And yeah, Jim too, if you're listening, I was looking through, you have a lot of content that may eventually pop up again. Anyway, as some of you may know, I am a former professional wrestler.
We all know that.
I know. This is my comment. And it's like, oh yeah. Even though I am a small guy standing at 5'6", and the discussion on hit points as endurance sparked a thought progression I thought I'd share. First off, I would like to thank Stork on his very appropriate point that he made on professional wrestlers and how physical the work really is, despite the fact the matches are relatively fake. Being in the line of work for over 8 years, I feel Stork was spot on with his assessment. Yeah, 100%. Like,
Yeah, of course we all felt that way about it.
yeah, like it's acrobatics
Yeah.
and fighting and ballet and like
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff all mixed
It's
together.
dancing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
very impressive. Now, here is how I have related combat to endurance in relation to pro wrestling. First off, on average, your typical wrestling match lasts about 15 minutes, which is very demanding physically. The first 3 minutes tend to be the most rigorous. It wasn't uncommon for me to be winded within that time frame. As the match presses on, the exhaustion kicks in, and I noticed that I was not as resilient to the physical harm my body would go through. Thus, I was exhausted at times to a dangerous degree and could be hurt more easily. Now, in most role-playing games, especially D20 Combat, this is from 2012, remember, please, people.
Mhm.
There have been many games since that time. A single round was about 10 seconds long. Now let's say for the sake of argument that a normal combat would run 10 to 15 rounds, especially on higher levels. Thus, the overall average time would be about 100 to 150 seconds. It becomes easier to see that the loss of HP translated more into this kind of battle fatigue. And even though a succession of landed blows might not cause physical harm, it would in fact wear down the one taking the damage to a point where an injury can and will occur once you hit a certain HP value. I tend to see that last 5 points of HP would represent the real physical damage, one would assume, and the rest was endurance, and each physical attack was draining it away. Translated, it would mean that within 100 to 150 seconds of hard, earnest combat where one's life was on the line, the physical drain to take a blow causes exhaustion, which inhibits a person's natural ability to withstand physical trauma. And thus, they eventually hit a physical breaking point where one's body would succumb to the damage, and that last few hit points would represent that.
Yeah, I like that.
That is like deep thought.
Yeah, I love it. I
Amazing.
mean, it all tracks with how I feel about it, which is great. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I love this.
I love the breakdown of that, like from personal experience too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, once again, let's look at the time in relation to the damage. When you think about 100 to 150 seconds, or 1 to 2 minutes 10 seconds of hard, earnest fighting, that can make the HP as physical endurance argument much more feasible. Let's take another example of fighting. In both boxing and cage fighting, most bouts run for about 15 minutes. Oh my God, that sounds so exhausting now. Like the first time, like he said 15 minutes, I was like, oh, 15 minutes, that's hard. That's a good workout. And now I'm like, oh my God, 15 minutes fighting. That sounds so hard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
With each round being only 3 minutes. If you look at the argument of pro wrestling matches and how the first 3 to 5 minutes are the most physically demanding minutes of the match, it makes sense. As with boxing and cage fighting, a good majority of the matches don't move past the first round, as the fighters are fighting more in earnest and want to defeat their opponent as quickly as possible. Perhaps a better example than pro wrestling, but hey, I'm going with what I know in the world of real or pseudo-real fighting. I feel that once you look at HP as endurance up to the last 5 hit points, it makes a little more sense as to why D20 systems rely on HP. Just my thoughts on the matter. I hope this perspective helps the HP as endurance argument. On a final note, I would like you guys to know that I'm chomping at the bit, for another opportunity to make my way out there for another con, or even just a chance to hang out and spend time with you guys. One day, I hope to make it back out there.
I hope you did.
Yeah! They came a few times,
Okay.
but I don't remember what years now. That's all for now. With fondest regards, Veremond. P.S. If you guys could possibly do a plug for game...
We probably don't need to.
Yeah, I probably don't need to do that. But I am going to say, because it has a lot of, like, old school listeners, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. This is from 2012, so I
You
myself
missed it.
missed it. But I am unsure if I'm able to go. But now that I'm following Happy Jacks listeners, I know that the following Happy Jacks listeners are going for sure. Pukatuka, Jim 2, Gandalf the Plaid, Useless Trivia Man, Azure Talon, and Muntjack. If you could get the word out on the show, these listeners in the Iowa City and nearby areas who might not be in the forums, it would be appreciated. Oh yeah, this is way back when we had really amazing forums too. Like we had
We have amazing forums now.
we have a
on the
Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
Discord,
But we had
yeah.
like a forum.
I know,
It was
it's
like
just-
crazy. Like thousands of people were on it. It was wild. I know because I was trying to be a young professional and also a moderator at the same time, and I lost a job or two because of that. Anyway, it would be appreciated. Also, there's a meetup of Happy Jacks listeners at Two Dogs Brew Pup in Iowa City on Saturday, I believe, which sounds like it should be a great time.
Don't go. Check ahead of time if you
Yeah.
go this Saturday.
Yeah, don't go this
If
Saturday.
Two Dogs Brew Pub is still there,
Yeah.
make sure they're having a meetup before you drive all the way there.
Not now. But we should also like start having more meetups again.
Yeah.
Like it should be a thing.
Yeah, is Two Dogs Brew Pub still around? We can go there.
In Iowa, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Iowa
I'm not.
Well, then let's
Drive-
find
yeah.
out before we scan a Yeah.
It's my turn to be the grumpy older person who, with young children on the show, who's like, I can't go anywhere. Actually, no, we have a bunch of people. OrcCon is coming up in February, and I know Rose and Captain Kurt and a couple people are coming out. Last time, Mike Fernando was there. Like, it's nice, like, in the pre-times, it would be like where a bunch of us met and like hung out in real life. That's where we got to know Verk and a whole bunch of other amazing people.
You're just naming people who are in the chat.
No,
I mean, I'm kidding.
yeah, we're
Really.
but they are in the chat. But it's been just like, I don't know, just a great
Kaiser
place to get to know
Soze?
people.
What?
So anyway, if you want to come hang out with us, that's probably since it's in driving distance, it's easier for me to make it for the weekend without getting my husband.
With the heads up that this year it's happening the same weekend as the NBA All-Star game. It's going to be in LA. Or
Oh no,
yeah. So
I hate
heads
when
up.
that happens.
Yeah. That's why Galley got moved this year, because
Oh.
the hotel we normally stay in for Galley is being booked for the All-Star
Yeah,
game.
no, those are the super amazing weekends because there's like these really fancy dressed basketball fans who are just like in amazing heels and like fancy shoes and like suits because they're all going out and stuff like that. And then us like in our like hoodies with like our giant like sets of miniatures and me with my like rolly cart and like they're all just glaring at me with like their Louis Vuitton luggage. I'm like,
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a podcaster.
There's the NBA All-Star game, and in a couple of years, the Super Bowl is going to be here.
Oh yeah.
I think that's next year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm sure the Olympics, that'll be great. Okay.
Yeah. Book your rooms now,
At least that's
folks.
a different month. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. All right.
Yeah, I think this is cool. I love when people like do a deep dive into why certain things work the way they do within a rule system. And like, yeah, and this whole thing about like the first few minutes of a bout being the most intense. I mean, honestly, like in D&D, especially since this was just mostly D&D as an example here of the D20 system, like if you're going into a big fight, that's usually when people like out the gate are like, okay, now I'm dropping all of my really heavy hitting spells. Whereas
Yeah.
like later in a fight, if this fight's still going on, and you've expended all your spell slots, and you're like used up all your like limited items, and you're like scrambling by, and you're like, okay, I Eldritch blast him. I'm doing a firebolt. I'm just unarmed strike. No, I'm not doing full area blows because I don't have any focus points left. But are they up? They're still up. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. I want to play the Worldwide Wrestling game. I was looking at it earlier.
Oh,
today.
yeah.
I haven't played it in a long time, like years now.
Yeah.
Excellent PVTA game. If you're curious, fantastic. And also, supposedly, I don't know anything about wrestling, but people who do wrestling say it's good too. All right. Thank you for joining us for season 36, episode 16 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Please support Carrie Linden and Snowbright Studios. You can find them at snowbrightstudio.com. And we talked about Tea Time Adventures this week. Super cute. Excuse me. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to all our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. We have adjusted things, so every tier, there are still multiple tiers, so support us at whatever you can afford. More is obviously better, because it makes me spend less of my very small teaching paycheck. But everybody gets all the rewards at all the levels, because we don't want you to be cut out just because of, like, monetary things, so... There you go. I think like the $1 Benny reward is the one that like you can't get everything for that one. That's more of a hey, thumbs up. But I think the $4 and above, like you get all the stuff. So thank you. We did actually have a little bit of a bump in Patreons recently because of that, and that does include the entire backlog. So if you ever want to hear the shows before I took over, like way in the back, like the olden times.
So if you want to hear the shows that this person was writing a letter about,
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah, like this one, the one that has Matt Mercer cussing like a whole lot and making really bad jokes. It's there. But I am going to give a heads up. The humor in the olden days was as you'd expect, oldener times with a bunch of dudes a little bit to be sometimes. We did our best. Okay. And, yeah, okay. happyjacksrpg.org/Patreon. I don't know why I went on that tangent. Also, if you know about RSS feeds, please get in touch with me. Please, like... anything.
please.
Carrier pigeon, Discord, email, anything. Blue Sky. All right. My name is Kimmy. She, her. You can find my games at goldenlassogames.com. And again, if you know anything about RSS feeds, please get in touch with me. All right, Riley.
My name is Riley She/Her. You can find me at Riley Silverman on the Beesky or on Blue Sky or on Instagram. I also am currently, there's a Kickstarter for a charity comic anthology that I am part of. It is called Horror Not Hate. It is raising money for CHIRLA, so it's Chirla, CHIRLA, which is, and also for Lambda Legal. So it is legal funds for immigration and for LGBTQ plus rights in the US right now. The name of the comic is Horror Not Hate, and if you go, the Kickstarter is live as of last week. It is bit.ly/horror not hate. It's case sensitive, so capital letters for horror, not, and hate, so capital H, capital N, capital H. And yeah, I have a 10-page 10-page comic called Shifted that is a trans comic with werewolves, and it's a story that has lived in my head for over a decade now, and I finally got a chance to bring a little piece of it to the page through the help of a artist named it's Jody something. But anyway, I'm very excited about it. I look up this artist name. I should have already had it ready. I apologize for that, Jody. But anyway, Jody James Brenton is his name.
Nice.
So it was, but it's so amazing to see this comic. I got to look at the pages of it, and it kind of blew my mind because it's been in my brain for a long time, and now it exists on a page somewhere.
Amazing.
And I would love you to be able to see it. So please donate. I'm not getting any money from it. It's all for charity. But yeah, it's bit.ly/horror not hate, case sensitive, and thank you.
Yay.
Hi, folks. I'm Jay, he, him, and you can find me at Transplantation on Instagram and at JAfrica, pretty much everywhere else in the socials. You can also find me DMing at Alamo Draft House in San Francisco in the Mission District, where I'll be running one table of the Dungeons and Draft House Alamo Draft House event. That'll be, I believe, Sunday, January 18th. So if you're in the SF Bay area, come and join us, roll some dice. You can also find my game design work on the DMs Guild. I write for the West Coast Adventures Guild. I've got an adventure premiering at the Comic-Con Cruise this February, I believe. And you can find the rest of the adventures that I've written on the DMs Guild if you search for J Africa.
Ooh. Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully you're listening because of the stupid RSS feed. And today we're going to leave you with a song called Whiskey in the Jar by the world famous Poxy Boggards. And you can find their music at poxyboggards.com. Thank you all so much. We will see you next week. Bye.
As I was going over the far-famed Kerry Mountains, met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. Well, I first produced me pistol and I then produced me rapier, saying, stand and deliver, for you are the bold deceiver.
Whack-a-ring-a-ma-dee-a-ma-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.
I counted out his money and it made a pretty penny. I put it in me pocket and I took it home to Jenny. But she smiled and she swore that she never would deceive me. But the devil take the women, for they never can be easy.
Whack-a-ring-a-ma-dee-a-ma-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.
I went up to me chamber, all for to take a slumber. I dreamt of gold and jewels, and sure it was no wonder. But Jenny drew me charges and she filled them up with water, then sent for Captain Farrell to be ready for the slaughter.
Whack-a-ring-a-ma-dee-a-ma-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.
It was early in the morning, just before I rose to travel. Up comes a band of footmen and likewise Rasher Farrell. Well, I first produced me pistol, for she'd stolen away me rapier. But I couldn't shoot the water, so a prisoner I was taken.
Whack-a-ring-a-ma-dee-a-ma-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.
Now if anyone can save me, it's me brother in the army. And I think that he is stationed in Cork or in Killarney. And And when we get outside, we'll go roving through Kilkenny. And I'm sure he'll treat me better than me only sporting Jenny.
Wisheringham-a-dirham-a-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.
Now there's some as takes delight in the fishing and the bowling, and there's others takes delight in the carriage gently rolling. But me, I takes delight in the juice of the barley, and courting pretty ladies in the morning bright and early.
Wisheringham-a-dirham-a-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Wisheringham-a-dirham-a-da, whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar.